Chandan Chaudhary. Welcome to ISB Insight. You are the director of the Munjal Institute for Global Manufacturing and the Punj Lloyd Institute of Infrastructure Management. And I'm just curious, what impetus did you have to start working in both these areas and set up a research center at the Indian School of Business for them?
Yeah, so if you look at manufacturing and infrastructure as a sector, both these sectors are very, very strategic for India and its growth. Now let me first start with the manufacturing sector. So if you look at the Munjal Institute for Global Manufacturing, we popularly call it as MIGM. This was set up sometime in 2011, and the whole objective has been how do we help India, especially its manufacturing sector, to achieve operational excellence. So this was set up with a vision to have operational excellence and innovation in the manufacturing ecosystem. So not just in manufacturing plant, but manufacturing ecosystem. And this sector has a lot of promise as to what it can do for India, because if you look at when the country got its independence in 1947, the manufacturing sector, its contribution was low, but service sector was also not very high. It was at 33%. So service sector has actually grown from 33% to 54.4%, but manufacturing sector hasn't really grown that much. So it has been a big problem. And there are targets that if manufacturing sector can move up from its current contribution of 17.1% to 25% by 2022, we could actually create 100 million jobs. So this sector is extremely important, and the plan that has been so far drawn, it hasn't really been delivered. So we have not been able to grow to 25. We are far below 25. We are just at 17.1%. So our idea is actually to create leadership capacity in the manufacturing sector. We are also focusing on doing applied research. So when I say applied research, it's not just solving a practical problems. We are trying to identify problems that's worth solving. And we are also trying to create awareness about our institute and the work we are doing and how we can help India in taking manufacturing sector to the next level.
And when it comes to infrastructure, is it thinking along the same lines? Because that is yet another challenge for India in the ease of doing business ratings, for example. So was that similar lines of thinking that led you to set up that research center?
Yeah, so if you look at our infrastructure, right, if we have to achieve double-digit growth to ensure that, the people who are living in our country today, 1.25 billion people, and it's actually growing, it will be extremely important that our infrastructure sector grows. Now there are huge investments happening in the infrastructure sector, but when you look at the leadership capacity and the managers who can actually work in the infrastructure sector, we are today having shortage of leadership capacity in the infrastructure sector. So we have set up this institute with a vision to actually develop high quality leadership and management capacity so that infrastructure sector can go to the next level of growth. Yeah.
Sure. Could you perhaps give us some examples of how you've worked with corporates in both manufacturing and infrastructure? And of course, the other piece is policymakers and the government. So how do you create that connection between industry, academia, and government?
Yeah, so if you look at the corporate, so what we are trying to do is when it comes to creating capacity for the manufacturing sector, we recognize that it is not possible for corporate to actually send their people, working executives, to spend a year with us and do a full-time MBA. So what we have done is we have actually created a management program. We call it Advanced Management Program for working professionals. So we have done this for both the Manufacturing Institute as well as the Infrastructure Institute. So what these two institute does is we have created this program for working professionals. They come just 9 days. They spend 9 days in a quarter, including weekends. So in 4 quarters, they just spend 36 days physically, and rest of the time they are in their industry doing their job. But over a period of 1 year, what we do is they just don't study theories, but we support them, mentor them to do what we call as action learning projects. So they solve a problem that the industry is facing over a period of 1 year, and they leverage management principles for solving the problem. And what really happens that industry gets their executives trained in solving some of the problems that they are facing. We also have short-term programs. So we pick up emerging topics, and on emerging topics like fourth industrial revolution or blockchain or digital transformation, we actually conduct short-term programs. So there is long-term training program as well as short-term training program.
Sure. And how does this loop back into the government or the policymakers? I know you recently had a roundtable inviting key figures from both industry and government. So what is your hope in terms of collaborations?
Yeah, so what we are trying to do is, first of all, when we select a topic for our research, we do consultation with industry, because we want to be sure that we are trying to solve a problem which industry feels that is worth solving. We also have regular dialogue with policymakers, government officials, and what we do is we participate in seminar conferences where we report our findings, and we are actually doing research on areas which are aligned with the national agenda. For instance, Make in India, Smart City, skilling, Digital India. So we try to actually take up research projects in areas aligned with national agenda.
That's fantastic. And are there, I'm sure our audience would want to know about any upcoming programs or events, symposia, roundtables. Is anything coming up at either of the research centers that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so one is what we have done. Let me just share with you a couple of research projects that we have done in recent period, and very soon we'll be officially releasing our report. One of them is related to participation of female, what we call as female labor force participation rate. So if you look at India, the female labor force participation rate has been declining. If you look at the global statistics, China, for instance, the female labor force participation rate is around 67%, or more than 67%, globally more than 48%. If you look at India, the female labor force participation rate in 2005 was 38.5%, which itself was very low. But if you look at last year, it has been just around 26.9%. So the female labor force participation rate in India has been declining, steadily declining, and we realized that we got to fix this problem, because only the male folk, which is little around 50%, they can make India a huge economy. The female labor force got to participate, and they got to take equal responsibility. We did this project wherein we got the research grant from Hero MotoCorp, and they recognize why this subject is very, very important. We have also signed an MOU with National Skill Development Corporation. We studied the skilling programs of the country. We looked at what is being done by the government-funded skilling program. We looked at what's happening with the corporate-funded training program, and this report will be soon released. There is one more project we have done. If you look at India in automotive sector, right? India is a big player, especially if you look at passenger cars. We are a very big player. So we are kind of 6.3 times. If you look at China and India, if you compare, China is around 6.3 times. But India also is a pretty big player. But we have a big problem when it comes to climbing up the value chain. So if you look at the premium car segment, China sells equal number of cars in a week what we sell in a year. So they are more than 52 times of India. So we did a research project on what the country should do, and we did benchmarking of policies of China. We looked at Brazil, we looked at Mexico, we looked at Indonesia, Thailand, and our objective was to really understand what the government should do at a policy level to really help India climb up the value chain. Because when it comes to premium car, we export no cars, so we do not produce premium cars in the country when it comes to real value addition. We got to draw an aggressive strategy as far as premium car segment is concerned, because premium cars are becoming increasingly more of software than hardware, and India has got a lot of good skills in software segment, and we believe that premium car can make a big contribution. And one of the things that policymakers should do is to remove the barriers that premium car segment has in terms of taxation and policies. We should make it same as passenger car, and that's another area that we have some work in the manufacturing sector.